What's up, chat? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. It's Friday. We're getting fractal. I don't know. We're talking about Death Guard today. Hopping right into it with the faction focused Death Guard article. As always, we're going to be looking through the video as well as reading the article at the same time. And yeah, let's hop in and discuss what's going on with this bad mamma jamma of a faction. Yeah, I don't know. We'll just hop in. Woo! Let's go. Now, I guess usually we can hit to like a minute 10. That way we dodge the early game waffling about from our hosts here. So let's see how we did.
Infiltrators just start up the battlefield in positions, push them further forward in the edition. So think further forward in the edition.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the new.
It was 45 seconds today, chat.
The first of them is Flyblown Host, and this is.
All right. So we have to navigate. I don't believe that was the first one. Here we go. We have found it. Flyblown Host. 2 Plague Marine units have infiltrators. This is the one that used to give you. It used to give you stealth and scout on your infantry. So this is a significantly greater downside to the version previous. Inky's throwing a fucking fit in the background right now, chat, because I started streaming. My cat hates it when I talk to anyone but her, including chat. I see you back there. I see you. You're having a little tantrum. Yeah. Yes, you are. So yeah, used to give you scout, used to give you 5-inch or a 5-inch scout plus stealth. Kind of a big deal. Lots of bonuses for Terminators and things. Not going to do that anymore, of course, because we are getting these rewrites on these digital release detachments.
It's a detachment that very much buffs the core unit in your army, Plague Marines.
Indeed. You will get to select up to 2 of those Plague Marine units to get infiltrates. So just start up the battlefield in positions where they need to be. They can be on objectives, they can be screening off your opponent or poised to strike or shoot, because of course they're a duality unit. They can both shoot and fight very effectively, in addition to being quite durable.
And you can build a Plague Marine unit to do like all sorts of jobs, right? Like they can be very combative if you want them to. They can be very shooty if you want them to, and always very durable.
Exactly right. Depending on which characters you decide to put. I mean, they already start at a very good price point for the durability that you get and the access to the weaponry available to them. And then, depending on a myriad of different support characters that you can attach to them, you can really make them, as I like to say, fit for purpose. I mean, what do you want them to do? You can do it.
And then you've got a range of
Yeah, so this is, I mean, we'll see what the enhancements look like, but because we already have Poxwalkers as an infiltrator, like the benefit of infiltrating Plague Marines is that you can deliver them earlier into other utility. So it's like, if you forward deploy scouts, I'm not going to fight them with Poxwalkers, I'd lose. So, we keep the Poxwalkers safe or whatever. The benefit is that what we could do is like just Yeetus McGeetus the Plague Marines into your infiltrators. The downside is that I think it's a little tougher for like Plague Marines to cross that distance than it is for a lot of other infiltrators, because they're only move 5, right? So unless you have a way to make them faster, it's kind of okay. And even if you're playing something like Virulent Victorium, a lot of the time you're gonna be trying to block out areas using you're going to be able to access those same areas with Poxwalkers regardless. So like being able to obsec objectives and things like that from top of one, it might be a little tougher nowadays because the terrain features are gonna be the objective markers, and if you're in the middle of the table, you're not likely to be hidden. So your expansion objective, for example, I think is going to be largely exposed. So if you start units inside it, they're just gonna get shot. So you don't want to start Plague Marines in it because they're going to be cheap, or not cheap. They're going to be kind of expensive. And Poxwalkers might live, but will likely die. So you're probably just keeping your infiltrators sort of hidden anyway. So I don't necessarily know how useful this is, to be perfectly honest. 90% of the time when you see these guys, you see them in rhinos because the combination with the rhino is so strong. The fire support with the rhino plus the ability to more easily deliver ranged attacks is really good. And it's not super common that you see them as just like on board offensive units. It's you see it occasionally, and oftentimes it's with like a Lord of Poxes, so they can extend their contagion aura. But I guess, like, to be fair, you will, I believe, be able to pull the characters with you because the characters have pre-joined the unit during list building, right, in 11th edition. So you have to pre-declare where your characters are going, but it's likely that you will be able to bring the characters alongside. What you wouldn't be able to do is bring rhinos and things like that. So there's maybe some utility there, but this feels sort of limited, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. The upside is something your opponent needs to put something substantial to kill off their OC. I mean, not unlike Poxwalkers, right? Like, for what's a Poxwalker unit come in? Like 70 points, 80 points, or something. You basically 65. Jesus fuck. So for 50% less cost, you get the same number of wounds. You lose the 2 pips of toughness, but you get a feel no pain. So their survivability. Oh, I guess like you lose the save. So they are much easier to kill, in fairness. But if you're looking for raw OC characteristic, Poxwalkers like get you it more cheaply, and have more effective wounds, even if they're it's easier to get damage through on them. Poxwalkers aren't threatening you, right? Which means like they're not beating other utility infantry. And in fairness, like we do see things like Red Corsairs, for example, that are like these forward deploy units, but those will very often have access to advanced charge, which we, as far as I know, we don't have in this. But let's look at the rest of the abilities. Maybe they're better. Let's see what else they got going on inside this detachment.
Enhancements and stratagems that make them even more efficient. So one of the enhancements, which is an upgrade, which means you can apply it to a whole unit, is called Insectile Murmuration, and this works with the Plague Marines' Contagion range.
Indeed, yeah. So while in Contagion range, they'll get real once to wound, which is not too bad at all.
Oh, that's interesting. What? Okay. So it doesn't check affliction. It checks contagion range. What are you doing, cat? You want to come up? Come up. No. All right. You don't want to come up. That's a little bit interesting. So it means that you can't trigger this effect off of the other Plague Marines, right? Like, you can't shoot at something with a Plague Marine in it and give it affliction and then get rerolls on your other Plague Marines. It requires that you physically get up close to them. Now, in fairness, this is not bad, right? And I think it is like an almost express push to not have to what's the word? Take things in rhinos to get that fire support. It also affects them in melee, obviously, which is great. So I don't know. That's just good. A good effect. Hopefully, it's not too expensive, and so you can take multiple instances of it. Being able to get rerolls in melee, I think, just solid.
So rather than when they attack a unit that's within contagion range, it doesn't have to be in contagion range of themselves. It could be in contagion range of any other friendly unit. They will get reroll once.
So you could send the Poxwalkers in first.
Correct.
Get in the way, then your Plague Marines can shoot at them from a safe distance.
Exactly
or
right.
You could be in melee with the enemy.
Spot on. It's in all phases, so I think it's quite a good ability.
Great.
In contagion range of any other friendly unit.
Shoot at them from a safe distance.
I think it's quite a good ability.
Yeah, so you can access the buff if you push something else up next to the target. It doesn't have to be contagion range of you. It's just helpful if it's in contagion range of you. It's just weird that this doesn't affect other like affliction indicators, right? Like you can't combo this with Mortarian's Hammer, for example, and then give affliction to people and then get rerolls on it. Which feels strange, but I don't know. That almost feels like a mistake, but who knows?
Ability.
Great. And then there's a stratagem we're going to look at, which is called Eye of the Swarm. This again works with Plague Marines, and it makes their close range shooting even more effective.
Well, it makes it work in combat. Pretty good. So they will get
That's
the
pretty
keyword
nice,
close
actually.
quarters, which for the people at home, that replaces the pistol-like effect that we had, allowing you to shoot your weaponry into close combat.
Yeah. So, for example, if you had that Plague Marine unit and you had melter guns, plasma guns, bolters, they can shoot effectively at full efficiency against an enemy unit they're engaged with at short range. Especially things like rapid fire guns are going to be very effective.
Exactly right. This is one of
The big thing here, I think, that this will affect all the characters in the Plague Marine unit, right? So we're talking about, I imagine. So the close quarters effect. Let's read it real quick. It says that units containing one or more models with a close quarters weapon can shoot using close quarters shooting. When using another shooting type. For each model in the unit, you can only select one. When using another shooting type, for each model in that unit, you can only select one of the following to make attacks with: one close quarters weapon or one of its other ranged weapons. So that's the pistol effect to restrict pistol attacks. Oh, so what they didn't do is include the rules for close quarter shooting. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. So the close quarter shooting effect is probably you can target things in engagement range of view, but can't target things outside engagement range of view. It can only attack with close quarters weapons, but they don't say that. That's a very confusing rule to post by itself. We can fire using close quarters shooting. We're not going to tell you what that is, though. Get wrecked. An interesting question, I guess, is like, does big guns never tire retain its -1 to hit, and does close quarters weapons like sort of still get around the -1 to hit with big using big guns never tire? That would be interesting to me. But yeah, this is not very helpful. Thanks, guys. But what this will do is affect all your characters, right? So like malignant plaguecasters get to shoot in melee. There's always the champion, I think, in a Plague Marine unit gets a plasma gun, right? So like he's always gonna get to shoot because he always goes last because he has the power fist. But being able to like fire this stuff into melee is kind of a big deal. I was immediately like, in what instance are we not we're either charging something and not killing it, or B, we're like charging or we're like engaged in melee with something that didn't kill us. How often does that happen for Plague Marines? And the answer is not very often. However, what often happens is that there's a couple Plague Marines left because they are tough to kill, and then you still get these characters. And it will be interesting to see, and I imagine that there's no changes here, but obviously there's like the blast keyword has implications with close quarters, and what you can target has implications. If you're able to apply this effect to Plague Marines, like, are you able to get your the other guy? Who's the other guy? It's the Plaguecaster and the Biologus Putrefier. Where's that guy at? Biologus Putrefier is here. Is he going to be able to use his grenades if you are able to be in melee? I doubt it, but at the very least, he can actually use his 3-inch range pistol, which I guess he could already do. That doesn't really matter. I mean, we'll have to see the final verbiage of all of this stuff, because this does just apply all of the close quarters to all of the attacks. Whether or not you're still able to attack blast weapons into melee is going to be a question. I imagine it doesn't happen, but at the very least, being able to fire your malignant plaguecaster into your melee is pretty good. Especially if you like charge something and don't clear it out, the combat goes for a turn, and then you use that to shoot him into melee, clear yourself, and then charge out. So definitely a little bit better than I gave it credit for.
Trace to me some of the things that you're already doing with Death Guard, as in trying to engage in that grind, that war of attrition that they're known for, which stylistically they already play as in the game right now. Moving into New Edition, I think they're going to be doing it, and it's going to be paying off even more.
Yeah. Moving on to the next of the detachments. This is Paragons of Putrescence, and this is a detachment that buffs your Death Guard characters. Already very powerful, very durable pieces. This makes them even more so.
Yeah, so this will give your character units +3 to the contagion range up to a maximum of 12. So extending those debuffing auras that are selected, as
I guess, like, real talk, especially now that you don't deep strike outside contagion range, because contagion range goes to 9, but you can deep strike 8. And when you deep strike 8, like, if in order to get your 9-inch range things to get charges and stuff, is the difference between 9 and 12 that relevant? It must be. But once you get to battle round 3, I just sort of assume that every relevant unit's in contagion. I mean, this isn't bad for sure, especially like being able to. I love that they put a Lord of Poxes, but a Lord of Poxes is already +3 to contagion, right? So I guess he goes to 12 on 2, which is actually a little crazy. All right, I'm kind of like I'm kind of seeing the Matrix, I guess. You can like run up a rhino and drop this guy and basically contagion your opponent's army from immediately, like immediately in the game. I mean, I guess also you could just like shoot them with plague marines though. So how relevant is that? Is the question, I suppose. But I don't know. This does feel like kind of a like it will surely be a relevant ability, but it doesn't feel like the most impactful thing ever.
At the start of the battle as to which one you need. A lot of the time in recent days it's been -1 armor save. Of course, there's been a lot of 2+ armor save in the game, Custodes, Ultramarines, etc., etc. Having extra 3 inches to that from the first turn onwards means that you can get those working quicker and quicker and make value from them.
Yeah, particularly useful on those units that are deep striking in or have ways of ingressing onto the battlefield, so you can spread the contagion range even further, even earlier.
Combo with Taliban? Was that? Because you can add 3 to contagion. I guess, like, here's a weird thing though, right? If the contagion would get to 12 elsewise, are you able to push it to 12? That might be like an active player decides kind of thing, right? Because Taliban doesn't have a restriction on it. And so, like, if you're active player, you could say, I'm going to add 3 for hypervirulent strains, then I'm going to add 3 for Taliban. So I can go to 15. But I don't know how that works. Your contagion range might actually drop. Once it goes to your opponent's turn, if they can sequence effects, if those rules stay the same, obviously. It feels like the OC characteristic modifier thing, right? Where it's like, if you can sequence multiple OC replacement effects in 10th edition, obviously, then you get all the benefits on your turn and you lose them on your opponent's turn. And that feels like it could be a similar interaction. But even in any case, right? I think like, being able to push like contagion to a truly unnecessary length is maybe interesting. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting call out, though. I think a lot of these mechanics will sort of have to see how the edition plays out and the exact rules of how it works
here across the battle.
That's a great shout, actually, because of course you have a 6-inch deep strike ability on things like the Deshrad Terminators, which can have a Lord of Virulence or Lord of Contagion.
You put one character along with another, and your squad stacks to 15. What? You put one character along with another Lord of Poxes, and your squad stacks to 15. If you extend it by 3, well, that's because the difference is that the contagion range previously, the only reason that this is a weird effect right now is because this ability here has a maximum on it, right? So if I have a Lord of Poxes and I'm in Taliban Summoners, I can go to 15, but in doing so, I'd lose this because I'm over my maximum, right? So the question becomes, if I have all these together, like, do I get this? And if the combination of my effects would put me 212 or would put me 215, but one of those effects is a thing that says to a maximum of 12, do I get it? And the answer feels like no. So I have no idea, right? Because there are restrictive additions to Contagion and non-restrictive additions to Contagion that theoretically you can stack together. I have no fucking idea how that works. We're just gonna have to see how the new rules commentary works out. So I don't know.
Attached to them, and then having them drop down and having that bubble just be extended means that your range firepower becomes more powerful, and means that when you make combat as well with various different units, you do get more efficiency.
Deathstrike Terminator is actually going to be kind of a huge deal with this, right? If you're able to very consistently, at this stage, it's actually, even just using the core mechanics of the edition, because you can deep strike 8 and your contagion range goes to 9. You can just sequence reserve units to get Deathstrike Terminators in early, right? Because all you have to do is take this Lord of Pox's guy, or you take your dude who's affected by the hypervirulence raids, or he gets the Taliban summoners buff, or the icon doesn't do the extended thing anymore, right? Okay. The icon bearer, what does he do these days? He used to do a once per game 18-inch thing, but he doesn't anymore. Yeah, he's stupid. But you can, as long as you can get your contagion range to 9, you can just deep strike within 9, because you can go 8 inches away, more than 8 inches, and then immediately contagion people and immediately drop Deathstrike Terminators next to them. That's actually massive. That's actually fucking crazy. So having access to this lets you do that on turn 2, and you can do it from 12 with a Lord of Boxes. I've reversed course, chat. This effect is very good. Interesting. Interesting. That's interesting. Wow. All right. Pretty cool. Yeah. Blade Lords into Death Shrouds. Yeah. You drop them all in. They're within 12. Within 9, you get the 2 range bands you need. Then you just drop DST in front of you and you clear the screens with the Blade Lord Terminators. And you can do that turn 2. Okay. That seems like something for sure. Well, that's fun. All right. We're picking it up.
So there's some enhancements that make that an even tastier choice. You've got Rejuvenating Swarm, which you can use on Death Guard infantry, apart from Terminator models. So you can use it on the characters that might be joining on to Death Guard Plague Marines, effectively. And it gives them that kind of perennially useful. If you get hit with something that's greater than your toughness, it's -1 to wound.
This is fantastic. This is automatically included in anything that's going to be taking this detachment, in my opinion, because
if you get hit with on the characters that might be joining on to Death Guard Plague Marines, effectively, and it gives them joining and use on Death Guard infantry, apart from Terminator models, so you can use it on
non-Terminator. Okay, non-Terminator Death Guard infantry can get transhuman physiology or whatever you want to call it these days. The Blade of Ultramar thing. Okay, well, I guess it's you can use that on Poxwalkers, actually, right? Which is kind of obnoxious. I hate that. Those guys are already very marginally outside your range to one shot, and they just leave it entirely if you're -1 to wound them.
It's -1 to wound.
This is fantastic. This is automatically included in anything that's going to be taking this detachment, in my opinion, because I think every Death Guard player at the moment is kind of enjoying what they're able to do with Plague Marines, and then just doing this in addition, meaning you're more likely to get to use them again and again and again. I think it's fantastic. Shooting and fighting as well. I think this is a absolutely superb enhancement. Get it in there. Take it all the time.
Pretty solid on Plague Marines.
And then adding to that, you've also got another enhancement, which is Host of the Hybridized Pox. This again can be chosen by a Death Guard infantry character, effectively, and it means that whichever of the Contagion range abilities you chose for your army, this character can also have the other one.
Yes, indeed. So this is a once per battle per army. In your command phase, you can select this ability. If you do select one of the plagues listed in Nurgle's gift, you have that one active in addition for that turn.
Yep.
So this is really good when you need to pivot quickly. The biggest one I can think about this is...
No. It's until the end of the game, Adam. And enemy units within contagion range of this unit also have the effect of that plague in addition to your army's chosen plague until the end of the battle. That's permanent. That's very good. Okay. So we can be -1 to hit and a -1 AP, or -1 to hit and a -1 OC. Okay. All right, that's solid. Yep. Very good. All right, we love it.
You know, at the start of the game, you are wanting to extend and get your ranged profiles more active by, debuffing your opponent with
Champions
armor
of Contagion
save,
feels like the natural slot with this for
truth,
chat.
just giving kind of +1 AP to a lot of your activations. But then when you get stuck into the grind, into the melee, into that attrition game that we want to do as Death Guard players, you can pivot to being -1 to hit to your opponent as well. And so therefore, in that crunch turn, when they connect with you, you connect with them, you survive the reprisal and hit back, or you just keep churning and pushing through that much better.
Yeah. And then, as you'd expect,
here's the thing that people are going to get caught out by too is because we can do the OC and leadership manipulation, and we can choose in command, right? We can just activate this randomly, right? As long as we haven't chosen our second one, we can just be like, I'm going to hold -1 because like it's not relevant until my dude's like on the table or whatever. I'm going to hold -1, I'm going to hold -1, I'm going to hold -1, and then I'm going to down your OC, and then I'm going to steal your objectives away. Right? Or you could just declare the -1 early in case your opponent charges you or whatever. But there's like flexibility there. That's great. What a phenomenal enhancement. That's fucking all right. No notes. Also, lets you do it when you're not on the battlefield, which I think there have been indications that might be usable if you're in transports. I'm not 100% sure. But it seems like the transport mechanics are changing because like the minutia of exactly how those transports work is going to be changing slightly. I know that they have different keywords now for like embarked and making disembarkation effects and stuff. So there may be a chance to use abilities while you're in there, which you can't do currently. But at the very least, you're going to be able to also potentially do this while you're in reserve. And so then you can drop in with Desperate Terminators or something, and you can immediately apply this additional effect. Lots of different uses for this. Yeah, that's great. That's great, chat. We love it.
Of stratagems, the one we're going to look at today is called Agravus Spasms, and this effectively is an ability you can give to one of your Death Guard characters that means that you can pick an enemy unit in contagion range, and that unit becomes easier to see for the rest of your army.
Yes, so your Death Guard character, for one command point, we select one visible enemy unit within contagion range and give them +6 inches to their detection range, going from a basic at 15, which, there's going to be a lot of nuance to that, but from 15 to 21. That is quite a distance difference. From hidden 15 to hidden 21 is quite big.
So you can imagine both of those two detachments joining together.
Yes.
Your characters buffing your Plague Marine infantry, being able to.
So I guess the idea is that like we're theoretically supposed to use the forward deploy, the infiltrate detachment to infiltrate like a plague caster or something in the middle, and then extend your contagion to then get this on to people. This one does seem very difficult to use, but I guess like there are cases where you're like running up a rhino and you dump out all your plague marines, and the plague marines are like already in the middle and then they can detect something. But ideally, I think what you want to be doing is detecting things that are like sort of out on the flanks, and being able to like requiring that you're basically within 9 or so inches, maybe 12, right? Theoretically, of a character unit in order to add detection range seems like it's a limited use. But I don't really know that because I haven't played with detection range yet, so I don't know how the dynamic typically works. I guess like you can do this on... This can just be a Lord of Contagion thing, because your Lords of Contagion are going to have pretty long contagion range, and they're going to deep strike before your shooting phase. So like, it also just affects your unit. It's not the character itself. So you can just have one DST that's like 12 inches away from the thing that you want to be detecting, and then they can fling this effect on them to extend detection range, and they can go charge somewhere else. It is a better detection range modifier than a lot of the ones we've seen before, because the previous ones we've seen have been a static effect, but it's only +3. Getting +6 is actually kind of a big deal. Pushes you to 21 inches, which is very easy to get to in a lot of cases. Yeah, I believe that every faction will have a way to mess with detection range. Which is good, I guess. My hope is that it doesn't invalidate the mechanic, because that's kind of what we saw in 10th edition, right? Is like they were like, "Hey guys, we're doing all these new things with Battle Shock. Battle Shock, like instead of removing models or dealing wounds, it now affects inflicts a status effect on you and changes your stats and gives you these debuffs. But then also we're gonna give you a trillion ways to ignore it, right? We're immediately gonna release the tiered codex, which is like Battle Shock on 3d6, and then we're immediately gonna release Insane Bravery, which at the time was at release, Insane Bravery was fucking wild because it was after a Battle Shock tech has been failed, you can pay 1 command point to pass it instead. So if you had like 3 Battle Shocks to take, typically you would fail one of them. So it would just like tax you 1 command point to totally ignore the Battle Shock mechanic per battle round. It was really stupid. It was like, it just made Battle Shock invalid. And I hope that doesn't happen here, where they're like, hey guys, check out this new hidden mechanic we have, but now everyone has a way to get around it. And you're just like, okay, so it's not really a mechanic. It's just a slight tax in your detachment selection or whatever. I don't know. My hope is that it doesn't work like that, chat. But it does like overall reduce the efficiency of your army if you're taking anti-detection detachments. But the ones with stratagems, like, I guess to be fair, this is probably the strongest version of this, because it doesn't require detachment. You're taking a detachment that's giving you other things, and you just use this whenever you need it, which I think is probably having that modality or the optionality is the biggest one for it. All right, let's take a peek at the next one.
Kind of win the firefights, win the close range shootouts, win the close combats against most foes. That's going to be pretty tasty.
I absolutely think so. I think these two
tasty.
detachments work together extremely well already, but also they work into the existing detachment structure that we get in the Death Guard Codex that's being ported over, moving over from the editions. And of course, if you're on the Vectorum or exists there, Champions of Contagion is one that I think locks in, especially on both of these. That one that already triggers both off Plague Marines and characters and the interactions therein. And I think that detachment in particular gets like silver service, gets so supported by the addition of either one of these added into the mix.
Yeah. And then last up, we're going to look at Contagion.
Let's take a peek at Champions of Contagion real quick in the context of looking at what's this called? Paragons of Putrescence. They literally just went to the thesaurus. They went to the thesaurus to look at what's a different word for Champions of Contagion. That's so fucking funny. But this one gives you like modal plagues. I guess weirdly it does mean that like this effect is not quite as good. But it means that you don't have to choose this thing if you need it only in one specific area, so it's maybe not the end of the world. Also, you could just not take the enhancement. What are you doing, cat? Yeah, meow. Meow, you're not paying attention to me. Wah. But you can stack like the 2 toughness along. Well, I guess you can't stack the +2 toughness alongside the -1 to wound because those are both stratagems. But you can have 2 separate pieces of defensive technology, which is good. You have improved critical hits. You have potential fight first on Plague Marines if you have 2 attached characters. You can put characters around, which I guess is helpful, but kind of mid. You can reroll hits and wounds against people, and you can unlock additional Nurgle's gifts. So neat, good stuff. All right. Well, I do think that those 2 are a match made in heaven. Let's talk about some Contagion engines.
This is a detachment that effectively buffs the demonic engines that support the Death Guard
This
armor.
already seems.
I think this is genuinely a very powerful detachment. So all those small, and in my opinion, very frustrating pieces. I play against them all the time. Those bloat drones, those Mephitic Blight Haulers. It doesn't matter which version of the bloat drone that is. Fleshmail is better, but it could be the ones with the heavy blight launchers. It's even the Hellbrutes as well. They will all just get assault, and they all those Contagion engines will get assault, and that is already fantastic.
That's awesome.
And some of those weapons as
super
well
good.
are quite powerful, but generally quite short range compared to a lot of other vehicles. So actually having assault increases that threat range immediately.
Well, it's something that goes against some of the what people expect. That you rock up to a table and you see.
Does this not affect plague burst crawlers? Hold up. Fetid blow drone with HBL blow drone, Hellbrute, Mephitic Blight Hauler. What? Did they forget the plague burst crawler? It's not in there. What the fuck? I mean, I guess it's supposed to be the light units. It's the 90 mils or whatever. Instead of the 60 mils instead of the big tanks. But there's only one big tank. I guess like they left the Defiler out too. So I guess like of the demon engines, all the big ones don't count.
The Death Guard across the table from you, you expect them to be slow. You expect them to be durable and powerful, but slow. And then this detachment flips the script a little bit and lets your units become agile, get into the fight, get into the firing lanes, or close distance and avoid you having to work around the hidden mechanic for longer in the game. And so I think that's
the big thing that I think that you oftentimes forget when you're talking about assault weapons on like long range anti-vehicle platforms, or like anti-armor platforms. So you're talking about things like the heavy blight launcher bloat drones, and you're talking about things like the like plague burst crawlers and stuff. But the ability to like sideline angles and then get those shots down particular angles is really strong, and being able to push those things up, potentially up to 16 inches along the edge of the battlefield is oftentimes more important than the alternative. The other thing too is the double spewer bloat drones, and I don't even know if I necessarily disagree with Adam that the flesh mower bloat drone is like scarier in a lot of cases than the double spewer bloat drone, but the double spewer bloat drone being able to advance and then drop all the torrent weapons into infantry is very strong too. Right, because those things do, like especially once you're benefiting from Contagion, and you can potentially reduce their armor save, those things can go kind of hard.
a brilliant ability, really good.
Yep. As you'd expect, there are enhancements and stratagems that support that. One of them is Parasitic Woe Reaper. This is an upgrade that you can give to a Contagion engine, and effectively means after it has fought in combat, it can get some wounds back.
Yeah, exactly right. So after this model is fought, one model in this unit heals D3 wounds. Doesn't have to have done any damage. Doesn't have to have done a wound. Doesn't have to have hit.
Just sitting there,
just
having a great
there,
time.
Just kick the knight in the shin, made it safe.
I guess it's like that can sort of punish your opponent for engaging you, but you're only affecting like 8 wound, 9, 10 wound models with this. Like the chances that you live a round of combat are very low. This feels kind of like a nothing burger. Like, I guess it's annoying. It does work every phase, so you can heal 2d3 per battle round. So, like, your ability to regenerate back up to full is kind of crazy. But you're expecting that you, like, eat a charge on a bloat drone and you don't die, right? Which does happen. I don't want to make it sound like it's not a thing that happens. And it does mean that, like, if you shoot them and then you, like, engage them with infantry or something just to, like, pin them, they will regenerate. But I would say like 80% of the time those things just like die when they get looked at. There's a reason that they're very cheap. Is that they don't have that many wounds on them.
Okay, D3 wounds back, doesn't matter. It's quite good. Yeah, genuinely.
And then there's a great stratagem in there which is called Bloodrust Deluge, and this effectively makes the shooting from some of those units even more effective.
So this is wild. The timing of this is very different to a lot of the stratagems that you would expect to have read previously. That's kind of one of the reasons we're highlighting it. So this is very front-loaded. A lot of the time you'll see a Death Guard unit interact with a unit, and then it will apply a debuff for other units to take advantage of. This one, for one command point, your unit that you've selected will be able to apply Afflicted until it's shot, as it's shooting. as in it applies those buffs to its own attacks. And I think it's quite good. So it reads as your shooting phase, when a friendly Contagion engine is selected to shoot, select one visible enemy unit. That unit is afflicted until your unit has attacked.
So effectively, you can have a solitary Contagion engine zipping its way across the battlefield early thanks to that assault ability, and then able to kind of pick off an enemy unit, even one that's nowhere near your force, and count all the buffs you'd normally earn by having units nearby.
Yep. It will be self...
Okay, here's an interesting interaction, chat, is that when you use that, Hellbrutes gain +1 to wound. Which is kind of cool. Is that worth a command point? Probably not. Hellbrutes shooting is not the craziest thing ever, right? You're firing like a las cannon and a multi-belta or something. Las cannon missile launcher, probably. But you could potentially be giving it +2 to wound if you give it, if you drop their toughness to a breakpoint and then give him +1 to wound. That could be helpful. I don't know. That's kind of fun. I think the other big thing is that this is good on my Fennec Blight Haulers. A lot of times what happens is that you end up seeing the Blight Haulers, because they have longer range weapons, they have their missile launchers attacks. You can take units of them, which means that you can actually have multiple models being affected by this at once, whereas all the other Contagion engine units are only individual models, but these guys can be taken in units of up to 2. And oftentimes what happens is that because they're anti-tank, but they're also like up to 48-inch range, a lot of times they're shooting things outside Contagion range, and they're just trying to get the benefits of their own +1 to hit and wound ability against monsters and vehicles. However, if they aren't getting the bonus AP, a lot of times their chance to convert is low. So if you can get something that's in like multi-melta range, but not within Contagion, and then you Contagion them, to give them like the -1 toughness, you're already getting +1 to hit and wound, and they're getting like a reduced armor save or something. That could be kind of insane. You go to like AP5 multi-melta as an AP3 crack missiles, at the equivalent of like strength, I don't know, 11 or so, 10-ish, I guess. It depends. The strength to toughness, conversion is a little bit weird, but that's pretty cool. Oh, they even call out the Hellbrute in the article. I didn't even read that. That's funny. Did you know that Hellbrutes get +1 to wound? We did, chat. We did know that, which is neat.
Supporting in that way. And a lot of the ways you will want a unit close to your opponent to debuff them, give them the minus toughness, the minus save from the Contagion auras, or minus to hit, or regardless of which you've selected. This one just kind of looks after itself, and I think that's really encouraging for the Death Guard General, knowing that they can have self-supporting units should they want to go out. I believe that the best use for this will be on a skirmish piece.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, Adam, thank you so much for your insight and knowledge. We will be back very soon with more Warhammer.
So interesting. Very interesting detachments here. They're very techy, I think. I do really like the enhanced and contagion range for character units one. That one feels very good. I don't know if I am that excited about the Flyblown host. Getting Plague Marines reroll 1s to wound in melee attacks is kind of sweet. I think that this detachment is interesting, Contagion engines, but I do imagine that it's restrictive alongside Mortarian's Hammer, which is where your blow drones go kind of crazy. I imagine those will both get the engine tag because they're both very synergistic. They're both explicitly synergistic with blow drones and stuff. So I would be surprised to see them playable together. But if they are, that would actually be sweet, because then, we're already getting this assault stuff, and we can drop our Tenderless and Mission Sky next to them to get rerolls and things, and maybe even more consistent. So I don't know. It's interesting, chat. I do think that this is probably going to be the easiest one to include alongside other things, especially in lists that are trying to play around with like Death Shroud Terminator builds, and especially if they disincentivize you from taking Champions of Contagion on their own. Let's see what they say about detachment points. I imagine it's the same thing as they say with all of them. Flyblown host and Paragons of putrescence make an especially good team, as you can attach characters to your Plague Marine units and then infiltrate them. We did talk about how that's probably the intended play pattern. since they're only one detachment on point each, you can slip in Contagion, Engine, Detachment as well. They didn't talk about the existing detachments, but the general gist is that the Codex detachments are likely to be 2 detachment points. That's what they've said every time has been that most of the detachments are 2. We'll see if that ends up holding true for the Death Guard one, but I don't know. We'll see. Shambarad is probably 1. I mean, maybe. I don't know. It feels to me like I think they'll be very hesitant to because it seems like a lot of these detachments that are 1 have a very limited selection of abilities. I imagine that they will be hesitant to put a lot of the Codex ones to 1 from 2, just because like the number of stratagems and things you get from them are going to be like much greater than what you get from these what are they going to be like these like sort of index quote unquote detachments. But we'll see. I mean, obviously a lot of the stuff's going to have to get rewritten, so it could be that those things get rebalanced anyway. So who knows, chat? I don't even know. Anyway, folks. That's going to be it for us. Adam said on Arvor Down Under that your best detachment, the one that defines your faction, will be 3 detachment points. Interesting. Well, I hope that's not necessarily the case. I would hate to see like Invasion Fleet be 3 and just be like rendered unplayable or whatever. There's definitely some detachments that are not built like others. I like the idea of being able to put a 3 detachment point detachment in, as that's like a, you know, Gladius Task Force or a Liberator Assault Group or something. But I do think that there are a lot of detachments in the game that are the most played detachment that do not deserve to be 3 detachment points. They are, you know, they're just the best that that faction has access to. Especially if we see rebalancing or rewriting of digital content detachments like we're seeing here. You know, we're seeing Flyblown Host get released as a whole new thing. This is just a totally different detachment than it was previously. Obviously, Flyblown Host wasn't the craziest thing. I know it has a lot of fans, but it wasn't the craziest thing for Death Guard. But I think we're going to see Subterranean Assault get rewritten. I think we're going to see Warpbane Task Force get rewritten. And if you take those detachments away from some of these factions, I think things are going to change pretty significantly for them. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes yet. Like if you see like you have like combined arms or whatever for Astra Militarum, go to 3 detachment points and then they lose Grizzled Company, they're gonna be like, okay. It feels kind of bad, but okay. So we'll see. He also confirmed that digital detachments that are not remade will be discontinued. Yeah. That's what I'm expecting. That's pretty brutal. Yeah, Subterranean Assault erased. Yeah. Yeah, I think Tyranids might be eating some scraps here for sure. I'm a little bit worried as well about things like some of like the really. I mean, there's some factions who are defined by their digital release content. You know, like Astra Militarum and Grey Knights, for example, are going to be in a really bad way if they can't use their online detachments. So hopefully we'll see some like really big balance updates. I'm hoping we see. I'm very curious about the Grey Knights thing, because I do think that without access to Warpbane, I think Grey Knights are like DOA. Especially since even in Warpbane, right, you can like 6-inch deep strike, but that's worse. A lot of times Grey Knights are like about making these like very hit knife's edge charges. You know, in Warpbane Task Force, a lot of the play pattern is around hitting 6-inch charges, which becomes 7 in the new edition. There's also like a lot of play pattern around like disembarking things from rhinos and making advancing charges with like some of the other detachments. And it's like you're playing on this very narrow range band in a lot of cases. And if they lose access to the consistency from Warpbane, I'm really worried about that faction as a whole. So I am interested. Not a fan of GW saying it defines you, so it's 3DP. Yeah. It feels like it's like a punishment for detachments that are widely played in the previous edition, even though they're not that strong. I think like a good example is like Invasion Fleet, right? Invasion Fleet's like super mid, but it's like all Tyranids have going for them because they're like, guys, our melee profiles are so wildly underpowered that like getting a keyword on them is very important. And so that them being like, that's 3 detachment points is it's like, what? But everyone else can take like 3 equivalent detachments, or in some cases 2 equivalent detachments, and stick those together. Yikes. I don't know. We'll see. All Grey Knight psychic weapons will ignore cover. Yeah, I think side cannons are definitely going to go up in value for sure. But to be clear, like a lot of Grey Knight I saw a lot of Grey Knight players being like, "Whoa, psychic weapons ignore cover now. That's fucking awesome. This is the best day ever. All of our shit's going to do so much damage." And in some cases that's true, but in most of cases your fucking guns ignored cover anyway. What are you talking about? Heavy side cannons ignore cover. The purifier like psychic attack ignores cover. I guess like silencers do, but they sort of already did because you just didn't get the cover bonus against them anyway for the most part because they were just AP0. If you shot into a 3-up save infantry. So it's like, did that really help you? It's like a very limited effect. It's good for their independent characters. So stuff like Vortex of Doom on the librarians is going to be sweet. I think Brotherhood librarian spam's probably back in the game, if I had to guess. Just by the fact that those guys are doing significantly more damage now. But we'll see. I do think, to be fair, that there's some benefits to some of the other detachments for other factions. So like Tyranids getting ignore cover on zoanthropes is sort of a huge deal. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, folks, that's it for Dash Guard. I'm interested to see how all these mechanics splice together. We're already like running into some stuff where it's like, how exactly do these work? I mean, the Contagion aura question is a big one, right? If I'm able to stack multiple Contagion improving effects, how does that actually work? We'll find out, I guess. So yeah. Anyway, chat. I'm curious and I'm interested. In reality, Psychic ignoring cover will mostly benefit Tyranids. In reality, Psychic ignoring cover will mostly benefit Scintillating Legion. I guess Scintillating Legion is probably going away, but I need people to understand how fucking nuts Lords of Change with no penalties from cover are about to be, right? Even if Scintillating Legion is gone because it's a Gratsmas detachment, you can still play them in Demonic Incursion. You can still give them bonus AP. You can still give them Everstave. That stuff is likely not going away. And I think that 2 to 3 Lords of Change in that detachment, like, they don't really care about hidden because their range isn't that long anyway. So any of those defensive mechanics or these lone operative mechanics are not really going to affect them. And they're still able to teleport around the table and just ignore all terrain effects effectively and just lock in sustained D3 all the time. That's going to be disgusting. And I'm legitimately worried about that. Like, unironically, I am scared. So we'll see. Recon element will be 3 detachment points. Fuck God, I hope so. I don't know. I don't know how you address recon element, and I guess like making it 3 DP maybe is a way to go. So we'll see. Who is Lord of Change in the balanced data slate? It might go back to Codex. Demons don't have a Codex chat. Demons are pure index. So the Lord of Change data sheet is just in the index. Now, in fairness, they could just re-release it and change their stats for sure. But I don't know if that's what they're doing. Who fucking knows? They've said that existent data sheets are gonna progress over. However, in many cases, that's clearly not gonna work because there are things like the changes to the leader effect where a lot of things are gonna have to be rewritten. So it could be that they just like do this like weird index pass, and it could be that a lot of these like crazy data sheets change. I have no idea. We'll see. Anyway, that's it for me today, folks. I am gonna hop off. Thanks everyone for watching. I am cautiously optimistic about Death Guard. I do think that the combination of things like like these Paragons and putrescence, it's going to be very good. So, yeah, we'll see. Cheers, everybody. Remember to keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming, all that stuff, and I'll see you. I'll probably see you later on Twitch. I think I'm going to play a game on Twitch later. And I realized, so I was getting all ready. I was a little bit of a tangent. I got a red terror that I made in Blender here, and I was painting it because I was like, I'm ready. I'm going to play a GT this weekend, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to play Subterranean Assault, and I'm going to play Harry Dan before he gets legended, which is almost certainly happening. And then I realized that it's in 2 weeks. And so I was like ready to get all prepped. I was like, I'm going to do some practice games. I'm going to lock my list down, and it's going to be great. And then I was like, oh, wait, it's at the end of the month. So I'm still going, but I was like being all ready to be prepared, and I don't have to be prepared for another 2 weeks. So what we might do, and this is interesting, I just released a video where I said you should do this, and I'm gonna practice what I preach. What I might do is try to find some games where we use some of the 11th edition mechanics and just sort of do some playtesting with it, like play some of the new layouts, maybe play with some of the new cover rules, and just like see how we feel. So yeah, that's gonna happen on Twitch later today. But anyway, chats, that's it for me. Keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming, and I'll see you later.